What is up, ladies and gentlemen? But most of all, you ladies out there, thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg. Celtics Thunder. Let's talk about it. Split cow! We just got done watching an incredible basketball game between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics. A game in which the Thunder led the entire duration of the game until the fourth quarter when the Celtics kicked it into gear. We're going to break this down because I think this is interesting from both teams' perspectives, and this is my first opportunity to sit down and watch an entire Oklahoma City Thunder game this year. I was super excited coming into the season when they had Chet and Shai, and then Chet went down with the injury. They still have guys I really like, Giddey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and we're going to talk about Shai because he's been playing out of his mind this season. And the Celtics played a pretty poor game and pulled it out in the end. So we're going to break that down here in a second. But first, please take a second to like and subscribe to the channel. You see we are up over 500 subscribers. We're headed for 600. We're going to keep grinding, keep growing. I think it's my 5th day in a row with the video. So if you want NBA content, this is the place to be. Hit that little button. I would appreciate it. But let's get into the game. And I want to start by talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you're a Thunder fan out there, you should be so encouraged by what you've seen so far this season. Losing this game tonight is not a big deal at all, in my opinion. The reason being is that oftentimes the hardest thing for young basketball teams is to close out a game. They can get the lead, they can keep it for a little bit, and then in the fourth quarter, when momentum starts to shift, especially in a road game in a place like Boston, when that momentum shifts, really hard to close out those games. But the fact that you have a lead, the fact that you're 6-8 with your big draft pick going down before the season starts, very encouraging. Now, why are the Thunder so good, so much improved? Well, it's because we've seen Shai Gilgeous-Alexander take that step forward that we wanted to. Before the season started, I did my top 50 NBA player rankings, and I had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I really broke down a lot of what I saw from him, a lot of his game, a lot of the things he was good at, a lot of the things he struggled at. And if you remember last year in March, so at the end of the season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaged 29 points, 7.5 assists, and 5.8 rebounds, shooting 39.5% from three. So we saw at the end of last season, Shai Gilgeous take a clear jump into becoming that all-star level guard that we thought he was capable of being. And then when they drafted Chet, I was like, oh, this could be a crazy duo for years to come. And obviously we'll see what happens with Chet. But let me pull up. For the season last year, he averaged 24.5. Now, the problem was he was a pretty poor three-point shooter last year. And that's what we saw in March. He shot 39.5% from three. And to start this season, he's shooting 36% from three. Tonight, he gave you 37 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. That's an incredible game from an incredible basketball player. A guy who is, if his team was a little better, would be in the MVP discussions, because for the season, he is now averaging, and let me get it pulled up real quick, and these stats are before this game has calculated. So 31 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. So you're talking about a guy who's averaging over 30 points a game and passing the ball at an elite level. Now, one of the guys that I like on the Thunder a lot is Josh Giddey. If you haven't watched him play, he's 6'8", pretty big guy, kind of plays the 2-3 position, pretty good scorer, decent defender. He's a guy that I really like and I think is going to be a valuable asset. If you can have a good guard, a good forward in Giddey, and then you can have a good big man or power forward or whatever you consider Chet, I think that this team could be really good in the coming years. What you want to see from this year is the development of some of their young players. Your Shais, your Pokachevskis, which he played a pretty solid game tonight, having 16 points and 14 rebounds. To go into Boston and only lose by a couple points in a game you had a lead the whole game. They lost the fourth quarter by 11. They tied They were leading by 7 through 3 quarters. That's a very impressive performance from the Oklahoma City Thunder, in my opinion. Now, the Thunder last night just scored 145 points against the New York Knicks in New York. So, what we're seeing from this team early on, offensively, is an absolute juggernaut. They're scoring at a really high clip. Behind Shai gave you 30. Okay, so Shai gave you 37, Giddey 16. Lu Dort played pretty well tonight, had 21. Pokachevsky gave you 16, and Jaylen Williams, they have two Jaylen Williams, the one that played a lot, gave you 14 points. So their starting lineup really produced at a high level. What you need is a little more depth, which tonight, you have a lot of young guys. They have so many draft picks in the coming years, and that's what we see. So the Thunder so far this season are 3-5 in close games. That pretty much lines up perfectly with their record. So like I talked about a second ago, closing tight games is what's going to be the difference for them in becoming that play-in level team that they could be capable of. We'll see if they finish in that 7-10 range this year. Let's move on for a second here to the Boston Celtics, because the Celtics right now are boasting the greatest offense of all time so far to start this season. They have the number one offensive rating of all time, and it's actually by quite a large margin. So offensively, they're just electric. Defensively, they are very, very shaky. And the other thing to point out, the Thunder had 19 turnovers tonight, which is quite a lot. You'd like to see them tone down on those a little bit. But the Boston Celtics offense, being led by Jayson Tatum, who really took a step forward in the offseason from where he was even last year, and Jaylen Brown both balled out tonight. And they're getting good bench production, and I think that's been the big difference in the Celtics is they're getting consistent bench production. Tonight it was from Pritchard. Derek White gave you 16 and 10, so you got 26 points from those two players alone off the bench. And then and that's even with Malcolm Brogdon out. So the Celtics are missing Brogdon. They're now 11-3. That brings them to tied for the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. It looks like actually Milwaukee's about to lose, so the Celtics will then be the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. I am legitimately concerned about their defense, though. It's very shaky. They leave a lot of open shots. They foul a lot. They don't get back on transition defense very well. And I do have some legitimate concerns when you're talking about the Celtics. Tonight, Jayson Tatum struggled from the three-point line. And that was the whole story of the game for the Celtics. They shot 27% from the three-point line, 10 of 37, when they said the Celtics led the NBA in percentage of their points from the three-point line. So a lot of their offense, a lot of what they generate is open, good three-point looks that they usually knock down. Tonight, they weren't hitting. They still were able to score 126 points, and that's where you'd like to see the Thunder improve a little bit. But again, the two things that you see young teams struggle with, defense and closing out tight games. I'm really not too concerned about this. We don't expect the Thunder to be real contenders for the championship this year. You want to see development in some of their young guys before they bring back Chet next year, and probably another decent draft pick. We'll see what it ends up as. But the Celtics were a little frustrating tonight. The problem being is that when it starts to go bad, sometimes they get so much in yelling at the referees or getting technical fouls that makes them not get back on defense, makes them press too hard, makes them frustrated. And tonight now Tatum potentially got called for the worst technical foul I've ever seen in my entire life. He just clapped and dropped an F-bomb. Wasn't even at the referee. It was in frustration to himself, and they threw a tech on him, which if you saw Kevin Durant, he tweeted out calling it the worst technical he's ever seen. But that's the problem with the Celtics a little bit, is they love complaining to the referees, and it gets their morale kind of down. And we saw it in the playoff last year that they had the number one half-court defense and one of the worst fast break defenses. And that's, to me, is partly because of how much they complain to the referees. Grant Williams loves talking. Jayson Tatum loves talking to the referees. And the thing that I really liked in this game is Al Horford kind of went to the guys and said, hey, stop complaining to the refs. Let's play through it. Let's get back in it. And at the end of the third quarter, Peyton Pritchard had a vital stretch where he made a couple plays, couple hard rebounds, hit a three, couple tough buckets, and just really kind of gave the Celtics momentum going into the fourth quarter, where the Celtics then scored 37 points and really got going in that quarter. So you ended up with 27 from Tatum, 26 from Brown, and Marcus Smart had 18 or 20 points in the second half. I believe it was 20 points in the second half. That's an excellent performance from Marcus Smart. And he's the guy that we've seen massive improvement from on the offensive end of the court this year. He had 8 assists tonight, and he's been lowering his turnovers. He's averaging 7 assists a game, and that was the big question mark. Do the Celtics have a real point guard? Can Marcus Smart fulfill those duties? And what we've seen thus far this year is that he absolutely can. Now, why is their defense so shaky? That's the big question we got to ask ourselves. Is it because of the coaching change? Is it because Joe Mazzulla is focused more on the offensive end of the court, where Ime was really pushing the defensive end of the court? Is it because Robert Williams is out? Robert missed a lot of games last year. The defense still performed. So can you truly blame it on that? Is there a finals hangover a little bit? Why is the defense not playing at the level that it's capable of? Do you think they'll just, their intensity will rise when the playoffs start? There is always those possibilities. But I would love to see them play a little harder on the defensive end. I'd love to see their communication better because they're struggling in their switches. It just doesn't look as fluid as it did last year. They're giving up so many open threes, so many free lanes to the basket. I just don't love what I'm seeing. They still lock in from time to time, but would love to see them clean that up. But an incredible basketball game. If you're a Thunder fan, feel very encouraged. You have an incredible basketball player in Shai. Josh Giddey's really good. Poku's really good. Lu Dort's an incredible defender. And Chet will come back. You'll probably get another draft pick or two. You have tons of assets. You can make moves this offseason. So super excited for the future of the Thunder. Celtics are the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and I don't think they're even playing up to their potential yet. Assuming, obviously, that the Milwaukee Bucks don't come back, which they're down 13 with 6 minutes left as of recording this video. But that's all I got about tonight's game. We're going to keep watching hoops. We're going to keep recording videos. So please take a second to like and subscribe. Sabrogao.